Well, I am pleased to introduce our guest speaker today. Angela Taylor is a licensed clinical social worker in LCSW. She earned her master's in social work from Utah Valley University, as well as a bachelor's degree in behavioral science with an emphasis in family studies. Angela has experience working with a diverse population of individuals seeking guidance for their mental health. For the last 2 years, she was employed at Central Utah Counseling Center, Sevier County's mental health agency. And most recently, 1 year ago, opened up Clover Clinical, a private practice treating individuals of all ages. She has 6 years of experience working with children and teenagers and is currently working towards becoming a registered play therapist. Although her passion lies with the younger population, she sees clients of all ages and is trained in several modalities to treat the diversity of clientele that she serves. Angela is a proud mother of 3 children, Emma, Ellie, is it Ellie or Eli? Sorry, Eli. And Elsie, who is here with us today, along with her husband, Ross. They've been married for 7 years, and Ross are you still the coach of the Snow College wrestling team based in Richfield? In her spare time, Angela enjoys spending time with her family, kitchen dance parties, good music, watching and supporting the Snow College wrestling team, and taking naps on Sundays. So please welcome Angela Taylor.
So I'm nervous, so just be nice to me. Clover Clinical, that's what we're gonna talk about today. Before we get started, we're like a week away from Halloween, so who likes Halloween? And for extra credit, whose life is traumatic? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You don't have to answer that. I saw that on a TikTok on one of the therapists that I follow, and that's her goal for 2025 is to stop asking people if their life is traumatic when she meets them on the street. And I thought that was awesome. So Russ already introduced us pretty much, but Ross and I met in 2017 at a swing dance event in Provo. He had just finished up state wrestling for his high school team that he was coaching, and his friend Max introduced us. And oddly enough, Max is the new assistant coach for the wrestling team, and he moved to Richfield yesterday. So it's fun to have them down there and have him participating in the team. And yeah, they're a good family. So I have a bachelor's degree in behavioral science and then a master's in social work. Although I'm the owner of Clover Clinical, Ross has been a huge support to me. And has helped me set up all the systems for the business and helps me do pretty much anything I need to make a decision on a daily basis. So I'm super grateful for him. This is a picture of us when we were doing our engagement pictures. What is that called?
The star.
The star.
So, can you still do it?
We probably could.
Try some, baby.
Yeah. So, I forgot to say, so Ross wrestled at UVU and I ran track for UVU as well. So here's a couple pictures. That's Ross wrestling. He was on the, front cover of the handout for a match or something. And then that was my 4x1 team. We took first place my freshman year at UVU. We missed going to nationals by 1/100th of a second. So that was really sad. So family first. So this is our family, Ross, me, Emma in the white dress, Eli on top of me, and then there's Elsie. So I just kind of want to start this off. Whether you want to be a business owner or not, at the end of the day, we're all human. We've got families, lives, hobbies, love, and everything else that goes into lived experience. So I'm a woman, a mother, a friend, a sister, and a business owner. But at the end of the day, when I come home from work, I get to come home to Ross and Elsie and our other 2 kids that aren't here. So don't forget that the most successful person you know had to start somewhere. They have a why and lives, and their life may not be so different from yours. And this is my why. So I went to graduate school during the years 2019 through 2020. That includes COVID. So my grad program got shut down. and I had to go all online, which was not that big of a burden because we had just moved to Sevier County. And I was pretty stressed about how I was going to commute with a brand new baby and working full time and make it up to school on Fridays because we only had class in person on Fridays. But COVID shut that down quick and I got to finish up online at my house. The very first semester I was in school, I took a class from Dr. Julie Hanks. Do any of you guys recognize that name? That's okay. She is pretty famous here in Utah for driving the feminism wheelhouse in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So if you ever see her on Facebook or Instagram, you'll probably see her talking about women's issues within that religion. So when I took her class, on the very first day, she talked about owning her own private practice. And the reason behind why she wanted to do her own practice is because she was tired of fighting insurance. So the way you bill insurance is you meet with somebody, and within that first hour, you have to provide a diagnosis or you don't get paid. Now, if you came into a therapist and say you were nervous or you were extremely sad, you might present differently than you do 3 months down the road. So for a lot of therapists, that can be tricky to provide the most accurate diagnosis within 1 hour of meeting someone. And that diagnosis also follows you for the rest of your life, unless it's changed at some point or you grow out of it, basically. So she felt uncomfortable about that, and that's why she opened up her own place. And that was really inspiring to me just in that moment, because like you guys are sitting here listening to me babble on today, I was the same thing. I was sitting there and I didn't realize that people who opened up their own practice could be just a regular, everyday person. So, yeah, in that moment, I realized I could be a mother and work, and that I didn't have to be just one or the other, and that my interests could coexist together. So from that moment on, the idea of becoming a private practice owner seemed to creep its way into daily conversation. The interesting thing is my best friend during grad school actually is from Sevier County. And so probably on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, we would talk about what it would look like if she moved down to Richfield and how we could open up our own place together. She's still living in American Fork, womp, but that's okay. Whoops. What did I do? There we go. Okay. So up here, there's just a couple pictures. Up in the top left corner, that was my last day at the Utah State Hospital. I worked there the summer before starting grad school. Up until that job, I had pretty much just worked in schools and watching kids. So when I got the job at the state hospital, I was super excited to get some live hands-on experience with the mental health field. It was a pretty pivotal job, I would say, in my career. I don't know, is that a career, being a therapist? But yeah, I got to meet a lot of really cool people. Anyways, the second picture on the top right-hand corner, that was one of my first days at my internship at Timpview High School. The bottom left-hand corner was one of my last days, I think, at the middle school in Richfield. And then the bottom right-hand corner was my office when I went to Central Utah Counseling Center. The interesting thing about the counseling center is you see anybody that walks in the door, you can't quit a client, and everybody has Medicaid. So with that being said, the lower socioeconomic status you fall into comes with a lot of more mental health challenges. So there was everybody that I met with, no matter the age, had trauma. So I pretty quickly became a trauma specialist. Anything from sexual abuse to neglect, physical abuse. There were some pretty wild stories and interesting people that I met with. I dealt with anxiety, schizophrenia, and everything in between. So the reason why I put that picture on is because when you think about going into a therapy office, you don't necessarily think about blank walls and black chairs and you have to meet with this person. So it was kind of hard to have that, and I couldn't really change anything about it because I didn't have money to put all of these lavish, nice things into an office, but you work with what you got. And honestly, that is the job of being a therapist. You got to just go with the flow and work on your toes. So at the counseling center, I had sometimes a caseload as high as 95, and I had to do charting notes on every single client. And a lot of those people were seen every 2 weeks to 3 weeks. So there's a lot of stories in my head of a lot of different people, if you can imagine. But it's awesome. I loved my job over there. I eventually worked down to part-time where I had a caseload of 25, and then about a year after I went part-time, I quit last February. And that's when I opened up Clover Clinical. So this is my office now. Like I said, Ross helps me make decisions on a daily basis because I can't make a single decision to save my life. So, in fact, I'll get to this later, but we're moving, and I sat with an order in my Amazon cart for about 2.5 weeks because I couldn't decide what I wanted. So I had to ask everybody that I knew if they liked it, because that's how I roll with things. But it's a lot more open and inviting. There's windows on almost all of the walls, so it's really bright in there. I really like it. But yeah, the concept of starting Clover Clinical seemed pretty easy. I mean, I didn't really know what everything went into having my own business meant, but on my way to work, probably for a month straight, I would stop at the stoplight and I would look left and right before I went forward on the green light. And this bank where my office is right now had a sign that they had offices for sale. And probably the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But then probably the 20th time I passed it, I was like, maybe I should do something about that. I'm seeing this every day on my way to work. I know I want to open up my own business. So I took a picture of the phone number, and then one weekend I talked to Ross and I said, maybe we should call the guy and see if we could take a tour. And that weekend we had the business up and running. We secured the spot. Although this office is the most expensive, I pay almost $400 in rent for one office. It was really easy to get it secured and get the business up and off the ground. So the thing I will say about that is most businesses have a lot of startup costs. As a therapist and on my own, my costs were pretty minimal, I would say. Just for this one office, I think, other than rent and insurance, I think I was less than $1,000 to get everything in the office. So, but my note on that is, which is kind of sad, Ross's grandma passed away and left him a small inheritance. When you think of inheritance, you're like, oh, like $1 billion. That's not what it was. It was small compared to, I'm sure, what maybe other people got. But because of that, we were able to dump that money, some of the money, into the business and get it up and going so quickly. So I started this, I think I had the office secured the end of September, and I started seeing clients October 13th. So there's only about a 2-week gap where I had the office and wasn't seeing anybody in it. So really it went pretty quick. Before I move on, do you guys have any questions?
Who was, I know you can't say exactly, but how did you get your first client to have that such a short gap from when you opened to when you started seeing your client?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. How did I... So my job at the counseling center, I was still working there, and the counseling center has a really cool team of people. They are the crisis outreach team, and they knew that I had just opened up, and so I'm pretty sure my first client was a referral from them. So, yeah. So what goes into running a private practice? So you have to be a licensed therapist. In this case, this is a therapy business, so it's going to be different than probably other businesses. But I have to be a licensed therapist and stay up to date on all of my CEUs. So I have to do 40 continuing education credits every 2 years. And then while I'm also in the middle of becoming a play therapist, I have to do 125 to get my credential, and then it'll be another 40, so 80 CEUs once I'm done with that every 2 years. So it's kind of busy. You have to pass the clinical exam and complete all necessary training and hours of work. So I had to submit 3,000 hours of work on top of passing my exam. You need a business name, of course. Insurance coverage is really important as a therapist because if you do something wrong and someone wants to sue you, they very well could. You need a location, of course, furniture, tools needed for therapy. You need an electronic health record to submit notes to insurance and everything like that. The biggest thing that's been a struggle for me has been identifying my pay source. So in the therapy world, you can either do private pay, so you pay out of your own pocket, or you can submit to insurance. And that has been the biggest pain in the butt. I've been in a waiting period since May to be able to build insurance, and probably a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I submitted all of my claims online and I stayed up till like 2 a.m. doing so. And then a week later, I found out that they didn't actually accept any of those. So that was really crappy, but it is what it is. You go through hoops and you are learning along the way. So marketing, billing, payroll, we outsource payroll. That's been really nice. I didn't actually think about that until Ross brought it up because he said, do you know how to do finances? Do you want to run your own books? And I said, no, I don't want to do that because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So we outsource that to a lady named Jade, and she does all of that in like one day and sends it out to me and pays my employees and all of that, which it's great. And then I also have to figure out, of course, how to bill, and that takes up some time as well. Note taking is probably the most tedious of it. It's pretty easy to get behind on, if I'm being honest. If you don't do it right in the moment, notes can kind of stack up. So yeah, that takes a lot of time. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about marketing and how I've gotten my name out there. So Sevier County doesn't have very many therapists that work in the private practice industry. A lot of them already have a full-time job, either in the school district or at the counseling center, and a couple of them do have their own private practice for after their full-time job. So with that being said, it wasn't too hard to get my name out, but Ross and I are not from Sevier County. And a lot of people in Sevier County, their like great grandfather lived in Sevier County. So they all know each other. I was at an event this summer and had my flyers on the table, and someone walked over and said, how come I know every single person on this page except for you? Like, I don't know who you are, and you own the business. And that was a huge light bulb. It went off in my head. Of course you're going to know these people because you grew up with them. You had them as teachers or whatever it was. So that has been a little bit of a hurdle to gain people's trust and confidence in someone that they really don't know. But I have tried several things for marketing. I have a social media page if you guys want to follow on Facebook and Instagram. It's just @CloverClinical. I make all of the content for that. I probably said this already, but I do everything behind the scenes. I don't have a business office manager. Only thing I outsource is payroll. So everything that I'm talking about is what I do on a daily basis. So yeah, I do all of the posts on Instagram. I also ran a children's group this summer on just a couple different topics, but it had to be cut short because Elsie was born. I do sound baths in my office, and then we also walked in the parade in Richfield. So that's our little family on the 4th of July in the right-hand corner. Oh yeah, I'm also a member of the Chamber of Commerce, but I'm like the least active member of the Chamber of Commerce because I'm so busy. But so as a new business in Richfield, if you join the Chamber of Commerce, I don't know, what are they? They helped me do a ribbon cutting and a grand opening for free. They gave me free radio advertisement up to $500 worth. So that ad ran for a month. And then what else? That's probably it off the top of my head. Trying to think. Oh, so going back to my employees. When I had first opened Clover Clinical and started my social media page, I went from like 3 likes per post to after hiring them averaging 60 plus likes a post. So they really like make the business. They're really amazing. If you know them, then you love them basically in Sevier County. So I'm grateful for them and carrying the team on their back for that. So I talked a little bit about this already, but these are the insurance companies that I'm credentialed with. And it's kind of, first off, the slides are extremely wordy because I struggle and I get lost in what I'm saying. So that's exactly what I would say if I read it word for word, but it's just to help me stay on track. And then I also made this while it was like 1 a.m. So I couldn't get the little things to line up how I wanted. So it looks a little bit weird, but that's okay. So I am in network with United Healthcare, PEHP, and Select Health. And like I said, that took about 90 days for each insurance company to go in network, regardless of anything after that came with that. And I am in the process of credentialing with Cigna, Aetna, and Blue Cross Blue Shield. To do that, you have to submit your license, your insurance, and then anything else that they request. Some of the packets are like, I don't know, 40 pages long, and others you just have to submit a half sheet of paper. So it is interesting. Yeah.
And going back to insurance, you mentioned earlier that it's been a pain in the butt doing this. And when you mentioned Julie Hakes, you said she wanted to go into private practice so she didn't have to do some of the insurance requirements.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to eventually insurance?
Yeah, that's later on. I'll address that now and just skip that slide. I'll just talk about it right now. So the reason why I am working with insurance is because of the socioeconomic status in Sevier County. Sevier County ranks in the top 10 poorest counties in the state of Utah. So that means if somebody does not qualify for Medicaid, they barely don't qualify. So I know somebody who makes literally $3 over the minimum or the maximum requirement to be on Medicaid, and their husband works 2 jobs and they also work 2 jobs and they have 5 kids. So for a lot of people, money is really tight in our county, and I found that just doing private pay didn't meet the community's need as well as working with insurance did. So does that answer your question? Kind of?
Working with insurance, broaden your customer base.
Yeah.
People can afford therapy, they're not paying for it out of pocket.
So for one session, if you're paying out of pocket, I charge $100 flat fee. And for those that I bill their insurance for, some of them have a copay and others don't, but most of the copays are as low as $25. So they're getting the exact same service for a quarter of the price.
Most health insurances will cover 12 therapy sessions per year. So if you're covered on health insurance right now, you want to go see a therapist, you probably could up to 12 sessions a year.
But since you're a student, you could probably also get therapy for free through the school. Yeah. Okay. So I think I just talked about this. I'll just say what this picture is about. So I put this picture on because I had to go to the pantry and eat yogurt because my kids love this kind of yogurt, but they take one bite and then they decide that they're done and throw it in the trash. And it's a huge waste of money and it makes me so frustrated. And this is the best kind if you've never had it. It's key lime Chobani Greek yogurt. I found that out when I was pregnant with Elsie, or with Emma in the middle of COVID, because we couldn't go to the store and we just had regular yogurt, and then I squeezed the lime in it and there you go. But so I was hiding in the pantry after I found out about the whole insurance thing and taking hours to submit all of my claims, and then they ended up not working. So I was just frustrated, and it seemed like the best place to be was to have a snack in the pantry. So that's why that's on there, because that's the truth about being a business owner and being a mom and doing all of the things. So more truths from behind the scenes. This is also me. I was laying in bed doing this presentation on my phone. Elsie was asleep after crying for like 45 minutes, and Ross was also asleep next to me. So the truth behind the business is I do a lot of it at night, during the day. I may be with a client. I work about 2 hours a day right now in person with people, but the rest of my day is spent answering phone calls, answering emails, creating content for my social media page, and doing notes, billing, everything. What are you going to say? So that is the real truth behind the business. Okay, so wearing all of the hats. Before I opened this business, it was pretty daunting thinking about having 3 kids and working extra because I was still working at the counseling center at the time. And the point of me opening the business was not to work on weekends and holidays and all of my free time. The point of it was so that I could be a stay-at-home mom to my kids. As a real person, side note, when Emma was born and I dropped her off, I think I cried every single day on my way to work because my passion in life, everything that I've ever wanted to do was be a stay-at-home mom. So that was really difficult for me to have to drop her off, give her to somebody else to take care of her during the day while I was going and taking care of other people's kids and their parents didn't want to take care of them. And that's why they were in therapy with all this trauma at 3 years old. So that is the real reason behind why I opened the business, is so that I could be home with my kids. I get to, now that I have the business, I get to wipe all the boogers, make life-changing mac and cheese, take naps with them. There are some really late nights. I won't lie about that. It's probably not every night, but several nights a week I'm up till midnight or 1 a.m. working on stuff for the business, which means that we get to have sleepy mornings and Emma gets to come in and say, Mom, it's time to get up, make me cereal. But I also get to be there during the day for all the fun things. So this is kind of the fun stuff about the business. So have any of you guys heard of sand tray therapy? Okay. So these are my own trays that I did at a training. I didn't want to share any of my clients' trays just due to HIPAA, and I didn't have time to ask for their permission anyways. But sand tray therapy is a really fun experiential therapy where you can tell a piece of your story through a metaphor using small figurines. These particular sand trays were about my postpartum journey after I was pregnant with Eli. And it just, I won't go into too much of that, but you can see the pictures. It's a huge privilege to bear witness to the people's trays that I get to see when they create their story in the sand. And for some people, it can be life-changing because they don't have the words to necessarily explain what they're experiencing, but the figurines hold energy and power and can better tell their story than they ever could. Another cool thing that I have really been enjoying offering to my clients is EMDR. Have any of you guys heard of that? Okay, so EMDR is just a different type of therapy than talk therapy. Actually, the less talking you do, the better it works. So I got to get trained in that in March, I think. It's a 2-part training. So you go and do therapy pretty much for 3 days straight, and then you have a 2-week break or 6-week break, and then go back and do the exact same thing for another weekend. This has been great for my clients who do have trauma. It is a trauma-informed approach for therapy, but you can use it on anything. Actually, just before this, I was doing a little bit of tapping on my feet so that you guys didn't think I was weird tapping my legs. But it does help with nerves and anxiety. It can help with sports performance. If any of you guys are on any sports teams in here, I would highly recommend EMDR if you want to try it. I'm probably getting to the end of my slides. So this is another fun thing that I touched on briefly, but these are pictures of the different things that'll be in our new office space. We are moving, so we'll be in the new office starting November 4th. We'll go from 1 room to 3 therapy offices, a play therapy room, a group room, and a waiting room. Pretty excited about that. yeah, it's been difficult to decide what I want to put in the office, but I think it'll come together nicely. And if you guys decide to follow me on Instagram, you'll probably see what the office actually looks like when it's all put together. So business is relationship based. Ross and I were talking about this on the way over. You have got to develop your support system because there's not enough hours in the day to do it all on your own. Luckily, I've been fortunate enough to build relationships through my internships, through job opportunities, friendships, and then other relationships along the way. And that has really fortified my, it's been a huge pillar in the success of this business. Without the people that I have in my corner and the employees that work with me, I would probably be sinking with having a new baby. This business services about 30 people right now. And so I'm really grateful for these people in the picture up here. So to the left is Cliff Watcott. There's me in the back, Lindsay Manning, she's my best friend, and then Shalise Sawyer. Cliff and Shalise see clients right now, and Lindsay is our clinical supervisor. A couple of the people that are pillars of support to me are Jade Torgerson. She's the one that runs our payroll. Holly Kunzler was my boss at the counseling center. She's incredible. Chris Matthews, he was a Chris? He does my play therapy supervision. And Mandy Shaw is another friend, and Cy Robinson is our insurance guy. So recommendations and my call to action, stay engaged. That's how I was able to grow my support system and the relationships I have is I would, whether it was class or at work, stay engaged with people, be people oriented, and just engage in your life. Develop relationships with peers. That's part of being engaged, and cultivate your village. Everybody needs a village. I know that's like a pretty hot catchphrase right now. Who's your village, whatever. But for this business in particular, it is extremely important. For one, being a therapist that's not doing bad things is important, but also being a good therapist and being a good person goes a long way in a small community. So you can do it. You don't have to do it all on day one. If you have an idea for a business and you're passionate about it, start small. It's the small daily choices and steps, daily conversations that can lead to great outcomes. And that's the end, I'm pretty sure. Oh, we're hiring. So if you like numbers and you are interested in a billing job, I am looking for somebody to help me with all of the billing that I do. But if you're interested in that, talk to me after for more information. And again, there's the Facebook and Instagram handle if you're interested in following along. And that's really the end.